Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back to the TeamIslas podcast, episode 16. My name is Doug Bush, and today I'm joined by
Patricia Islas
and
Zach Shear.
And this podcast is for anyone looking to better themselves in percussion education. Think of the correct thing at the correct time. This is rule 5 of the 24 rules from the book Master Hands. This rule can serve you and your students at both the micro and macro level. One obvious application at a more micro level is simply reminding the students to subdivide before they play, right? One of our 3 types of timing we talk about is called spatial timing, which is navigating space before they play. And all these types of timing have guides or rules to help you succeed in them. The rule for spatial timing is subdivision, just simply subdividing before you play. And this is not something the students are going to inherently do. In every piece of music they play, their entire life will begin from silence, right? And so you walk through the process of, again, developing these mantras with your students, right? Any opportunity you have for spatial timing, someone raise your hand and tell me what this timing, okay, cool. And then you say, what rhythm should you subdivide before you play this? And you get them to, subdivide your choice of rhythm here. But, my default is if they are able to subdivide the rhythm they are about to play, like if I'm about to play triplets and I can subdivide triplets, I should subdivide triplets, right?
Oh, and you do this before they even play the exercise the first time.
Yes. Yeah.
Before the first rep, you tell them this.
Yes, that's such a good point, Miss Islas. I can remember a wonderful educator that I love dearly. He's literally one of the best I've ever worked with. But multiple times that before playing the exercise would lean to me and say, they're gonna blow this tack because they're not subdividing triplets before they play. And then they would blow the tack, and he'd be like, see? And then he's, cut, do it again. And then they would do it a second time. He's, watch, they're going to do it again. And then they would do it again. And I'm just thinking, bro, tell them. And then after 3 times in a row, he would just explode. Why aren't you subdividing? And it would catch the kids off guard. Oh, they were so shocked. They didn't see it coming, right? And it's like, take a moment before you play.
If they were paying attention to that before, it wouldn't have been a problem.
To think of the correct thing at the correct time. Guide them. They will not do it on their own. Their shoes aren't even tied. Half their lunch is on their shirt, right? You know what I'm trying to say? It's a miracle they're here,
Miss Islas, we talked in a previous episode about how you're so good about asking questions. Mm-hmm. And I find that, this is a great one, right?
Yeah.
You go up to that kid that you think is not, right?
Not with it.
And you just say, hey, right before you play the very first note, what were you thinking about?
Yeah.
You don't even give them the subdivision hint.
No hint.
And they're just going to stare at you.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're like, okay, you kind of guide them, But I like to ask, like, okay, or maybe they're like, I was subdividing triplets. And I'm like, cool. Tell me about the sound of the triplets. What do you hear in your head? Do you hear triplets being played on a snare drum? Mm-hmm. Do you hear triplets from the sound of voice 2 on the DB88, or is it the DB96, whatever the new model is, right? But like, no, really, because sometimes they'll get good enough at going like, yeah, okay, Mr. Shear, I'm subdividing triplets, and I'm like, are you? Tell me about them. What color are the triplets? But like really getting really specific about like, are you subdividing? How? When? What does it sound like? Et cetera, et cetera. Thinking about the right thing at the right time. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, mindless repetition isn't going to get you anywhere. Mindless repetition might actually make things harder on you as you ingrain. So, Mr. Shear, you always say you play with your mind. You play with your brain, not your hands, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to train the student's brain just like you train their hands. And the way you do that is before they play, you guide them, right? And, a mantra that we have, at Capella is that during the tap-off, every student should choose an individual singular goal for that rep. And it could be their mark time technique. It could be keeping their beads together. It could be the consistency of their mezzo forte dynamic, whatever. But something to help in this that we've done over the years is, our students all have notebooks, and during the drumline camps, we're making them write lessons down in these notebooks to reference later in their practicing, right? But what I have the snare line do is, because that's who I'm primarily working with during the camps, is I have them flip to the last page of the notebook, and before we place an exercise, I'll say, okay, I want you to write down 2 things that are applicable to any exercise we play. good time, good sound, whatever, right? They write it down right there, right? Okay, now write down 2 things specifically for this. Okay, it's a paradiddle exercise, quality of my low double and, timing of my low double after the accent, whatever. They all write it down and then they leave it there on the music stand. And as they do this throughout the camp, they're adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And by the, 4th day of the first camp, I just have them flip to the back of their notebook, and it just have it on their music stand. And that way they can constantly, between reps, look at it and reference something. Oh, yeah, mark time style. Mr. Bush was really getting on me about that. I'm going to fix that or whatever. But again, I'm just not anticipating that these kids are going to be thinking, very much the opposite. I think that they will be thinking of the incorrect thing at the incorrect time,
Yeah, the way I'll do that in front ensemble land, because sometimes it can almost seem like a waste of time to do down the line playing, because you'll have anywhere from 16 to sometimes like 25 kids in a front ensemble, and that can take a long time and you can lose their attention. So what we'll do on any given exercise is, okay, we play 2 reps of it. All right, now we're going down the line. We'll start from a specified place. We'll have 4 or 5 players play one at a time. And after those 4 or 5 players have gone, I will give specific short comments to each one. Oh, your attack was late. Oh, you're playing your left hand too loud. They get one specific thing, and then everybody again jumps in and plays a couple more times through, and then we'll continue down the line where we left off. So that way, each player gets specific instructions. They get direct feedback on what they need to work on the most. And in those times when we're doing the reps, the players that just went get an opportunity to write down whatever the comment that they just got. And more advanced through the week, or for more advanced players, I won't tell them. I'll ask them what they heard. And they'll tell me, oh, it was my left hand that was too loud. Or I was a little earlier, crushed on those triplets. And then I'll have them write them down.
Absolutely. And this is again, more on the macro level. If we think about, thinking of the correct thing at the correct time on a more of a macro level, or the season holistically, what I want to guide the students, maybe in an ensemble setting, to think about earlier in the season when they just got the beats, is going to be different than a week before our first contest or the day of our last contest, right? So, Mr. Scheer, what are some of your thoughts on like a performance mindset and how you should be thinking, the performing versus evaluating?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I'm just going to identify with myself, with my staff, with my students, that there is a difference. Mm-hmm. Performing is not the same as rehearsal, and we need to be in a different mindset for those 2 things. So this is something I think I learned from Christopher Dean, which is like it's actually almost impossible to be the performer and the teacher and the to perform and also evaluate your performance in real time, and also to then think about what to do to correct that evaluation that you just that's really hard, right? So are we always working on our performance quality and that sort of thing, even in rehearsal? Yes. But am I going to maybe give a little bit on that so the students can really work on evaluation during rehearsal? Sure. But then I actually think the more important one is to start to develop with your students almost like, hey, we're flipping a switch once we go into performance mode. Like, rehearsal is over. Mm-hmm. We're actually not here at this contest or this performance to get better. That time is gone. Mm-hmm. And the only thing we have to do now is to go out there and light it up. Mm-hmm. Like, to go out there and perform with really no mental focus at all. None of your brain bandwidth devoted to criticism or evaluation or anything. Like, I actually remember, and I'm probably going to get the exact quote wrong, but I remember Paul saying often, like, it's kind of a relief when that first mistake happens, right? Because you're like, now, okay, like we don't have to worry about, like, we're not really super worried about like there being a tiny mistake. We know it's not going to be perfect. We're here to like really give a performance, which is just a different thing than trying to get better.
Yeah, and especially with younger students, I want to reiterate something that Mr. Scheer's saying here, though. It's not like, oh, I wait until the gig to do this.
No.
And then I turn it on literally at the gig. The lack of maturity of this and experience that the students have, that will... So it's built into the rehearsal, right? And it's not something like the first week of band camp when we're learning part 3 of the band show. It's not like, okay, this is performance rep, right? No. We're still deep in learning and evaluation, but it's more like, okay, we got our first contest coming up in a week, and we're not going to wait until that day to have performance runs, right?
Yeah,
we are going to have dedicated time in the rehearsal, often at the end. And often, whether it's your personal practice or even in there, like I remember just a couple weeks ago, when we did our first ever full ensemble run of one of the movements of the drumline show. This is the first one, Mr. Wynn recorded it, and he sent it to everybody. Right. And that was immediately for both the staff and the students. So you leverage earlier, like here, this is a performance run. And inevitably, in my experience, I've seen you show it to the kids and they're always surprised by some things. Oh, I didn't know I looked like that. Oh my gosh. Wow, Mr. Bush, my mallets really are a little low, or wow, I really am, or whatever.
I am making that face.
I am making that face, right? Or I'm a little out of balance because I haven't really refined my listening level skills, which is a tool that we use that involves thinking of the correct thing at the correct time. So Miss Eastlas, what are the different listening levels?
The different listening levels apply. Listening level 1 is listening to yourself and either the metronome or watching the conductor, but you're just concerned with what you're doing and how that fits with something steady, usually the metronome. Listening level 2 involves listening to yourself, the metronome, and someone in your section that may have the same part as you, or your entire section if you're playing a snare line. Listening level 3 is you, the metronome, the people playing your same part, and the other members of your section. So as you get deeper and more familiar with the music, you are expanding to different levels of listening. But when the music is brand new, you are only focused on listening level 1. And what I have found is that many times, especially in the first week of playing the music, everybody's excited to hear the full thing. The students will lean towards listening 2 or 3 much sooner than they need to, because everybody's just there. They want to hear it put together. But what that always results in is breaking and rushing, and one player comes in early, and then the rest of them join in, and it becomes a big mess.
Yep, for sure. Kind of along that, train of thought as well is the, how do the students? They're going to be. Thankfully, and I think this is one of the best things about this activity, they're going to be put in high pressure situations. And, in some ways, I feel like the younger students nowadays are at a disadvantage more so than previous generations I've taught because, thankfully, in many ways, our life is just so much more comfortable than it was 10 years ago, and definitely 20 years ago, and then definitely 20 years before that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so because by no fault of the students, their life is so extremely comfortable and easy in most cases compared to what it used to be. When you're trying to stand outside in the Texas sun and concentrate on the quality of that low tap, or you're dealing with you've been told all these things about mental health and anxieties and whatever, you've been really inundated with this, and now you're as a young boy, young girl, like transitioning into young adulthood, and you're feeling these nervouses and this growth and these anxieties of my first ever crush or my first ever date or my first ever failing a test that I thought I was going to do well on, or trying to sneak out of the house and not get caught by my parents or whatever. As you're dealing with all these kind of firsts, right, that do come with this kind of that time in your life are big, important, heavy things, right? So, oh my gosh, I'm doing my first band contest, with this prestigious group, or my first drum, or auditioning for it or whatnot. We try to teach the kids that regardless any of these things, the solution is always the same. Thinking of the correct thing at the correct time, which involves breathe right, think right. If we can teach them. If you haven't had a chance to check out Hicks and Gracie's book, Breathe, A Life and Flow, I highly recommend it. Outstanding book. And he talks a lot about how a lot of people actually get the deep breath incorrect, where they focus a lot on that inhale. But really the key is the exhale, like getting all the kind of stale air you have out. So all the kids are taught this. We spend a long time, probably a surprising amount of time to someone outside of getting them to fully exhale and fully inhale and send that calmness to their entire nervous system that, hey, everything's okay. And then guide them to Are the things you're thinking about right now things that are productive and going to help you in whatever you're about to achieve? Or are they things that are out of your control? They're emotional. You like, for example, often in a drumline contest or a band, definitely a drumline contest, there is another group on the field playing, right? When we come to the end zone, we do not put the drums down and listen to them. Because every drumline instructor I've ever worked with walks around the lot. They hear, oh gosh, you hear Bingaman's group over there? Oh my gosh, those are the cleanest rolls I've ever heard in my life. Oh, they're a million times cleaner than our rolls. Like, no, they're not. Bingaman's thinking the exact same thing, right? And so is Mr. Lebrecht and everybody else, right? That's out here. Everybody's hearing these other, right? At the end of the day, neither you nor your students have any control over what that group on the field sounds like or what they're doing or what they're playing or how they're playing it. That's the last thing I want the kids paying attention of or thinking of right before they perform. We immediately, we take, it into our own hands. We arc up in a circle and we very quietly mentally run an air stick the show that they're about to play. We get them to think of the right thing at the right time and focus on breathing right and thinking right and identifying when their negative thoughts are thoughts that are things that are outside of their control, letting those go and replacing them with positive things that are in their control.
Yeah, and when it comes to the performance mindset and how to avoid concentrating on evaluation or solving problems or just navigating the mistakes that might come up, the number one key method is audiation. Is singing and visualizing successfully the music in your head and being a vessel for what's happening up there. I know for me personally, I remember being in high school, little baby Islas as a sophomore, and the piece I was working on was the Tumalat Creston Concerto. And I was going to compete with this piece at a local competition. And I obviously had spent a lot of time preparing it, probably more time than I needed, as was and is still my style, and had one rehearsal with the pianist, this amazing Russian doctoral student from North Texas the night before. It went extremely well. I was ready to go. I show up to this contest the next morning. I'm the first one to go on. And as I am setting up my marimba in the parking lot, my percussion instructor comes over and he's like, so I have to tell you, I didn't know this in advance, or else I would have told you this, but I found out that to be qualified in this competition, you have to play the piece memorized. And I didn't know this in advance. You can imagine, my face goes pale, like, what? And since I was the first one on, I had no time to see if I could do it. I had a chance to maybe play a couple scales and then get on in there. And so what happens, of course, I start the piece. We play through the first 3 or 4 lines. Everything goes okay. And then my hands fail me, and I panic, and it just goes black. I see the universe. I see I see everything but the notes on the page. Yeah. Right? And I'm panicking, and I try to jump in again because I kind of know where she is, but I don't know what notes to play. I don't even remember what key the piece is in. I did, but I didn't. And then I finally jump in towards the end, and the pianist jumps in with me, and we finish the piece and maybe play the last 2 or 3 lines of the piece. And I felt so defeated. I felt so disappointed in myself. And had I had the skill of audiation, had I even known that existed, I could have specifically thought about that and probably gotten through the entire piece without breaking or falling apart, because I knew it. I really knew it. I'd practiced it enough, but I didn't trust in the skills, and I didn't think about the right thing. I focused on the problems. I focused on all the stress of the situation and not just the music that I was trying to create. So that's one of these things that we'll embed into how we prepare, not just the day of the contest, not just the day before the contest, but on very strategic moments, have the students, okay, this time you're just audiating. You're just singing the parts in your head and you're performing, so that when it gets to those stressful moments with a lot of pressure, it's not anything different. They're doing what they've already practiced.
Miss Islas, I'm sorry that happened to you. When we're done recording, I can give you a hug.
No, I'm glad. I'm good.
Yeah,
it made you stronger.
I'm glad that happened.
Me too. It made me stronger, made me smarter.
Awesome, guys. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today, friends. We appreciate it as always. And if you have any questions for the podcast, send them to teamislas@gmail.com. That's teamislas, teamislas@gmail.com. Shout out to all the great percussion companies that support Team Islas: Mapex Majestic Percussion, Dynasty Percussion, Remo Drumheads, Promark Sticks and Mallets, Sabian Cymbals, Beetle Percussion, and Lot Riot Apparel. Mr. Shear, this rule here comes from the best-selling snare method book, Master Hands. Where can our listeners, the best and brightest in the music education industry, pick up this book?
At any online or in-person music retailer. Or at TeamIslas.com.
Yes, sir. Right now, I'm thinking of the correct thing at the correct time, and that is you should like and subscribe this podcast. Please give us that 5-star review. And remember, friends, step 1 is time. Step 2 is sound. Step 5 is think of the correct thing at the correct time. And step 3 is subscribing to the Team Islas podcast.